Hello. Hey, welcome to our channel, Into Form. I'm Paul, and this is.
I'm Jimmy. Sorry, I forgot my role here. Got my job.
Anyway, we want to talk to you. We want to talk to you today. We're very excited to talk to you um, about some things. So we had this idea to do a kind of video series about experiences we've had along our journeys, and specifically our spiritual journeys and different uh, modalities that we've explored and different practices that we've tried, different books that we've read, and talking about our experiences with those and how those impacted us, what we got out of them, how it changed our lives, and all of that. So this is going to be the first video in that series, and we're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, I wanted to say something as well about kind of how I see at this point in time the big picture of uh, what all these different modalities offer and why they have their differences. So I'm just going to launch into that, Jimmy. That's cool with you.
Yeah, that
All
sounds
right.
good.
All right. Yeah. So this is to me one way to look at all these different modalities, and I find it to be very useful. Um, First, I'd say that we have a lot of different dimensions of us, and everybody knows, we have a physical dimension, we have a physical body, we have emotions. That's a dimension. We have our mind, so we have a mental part of us, and that's three dimensions right there. And we have many more dimensions besides that. From a spiritual point of view, I would say we can also talk about ego, the soul, our spirit, the chakras, so that we have all these different dimensions to us. We're kind of complex from that point of view. And how I look at all these different modalities is that they highlight, emphasize, and develop different aspects of us. So for example, a lot of meditation practices, it's about kind of stepping out of the mind and awakening our consciousness. So it's working with certain parts of us, but therapy, by contrast, it's kind of working with a different domain of healing maybe our emotional wounds, helping our ego be more unified within itself, because it has a lot of different parts. So we could say that all these different modalities, they address different aspects of us, different dimension, and they help those different dimensions grow and develop. And from my point of view, from where I stand, all our dimensions are important. They're all, we have all of them for a reason, and we need to include all of them and kind of nurture all of them for us to reach our highest potential. That's what I believe right now. So yeah, so that's what I wanted to say about wholeness. Basically, that's kind of how I see it. Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever even heard me say that before in that way, but
Not particularly. Not with that. There's that
yeah.
That whole breakdown.
Yeah, and there's like different ways to look at it. I just find that to be one very useful way to step back and look at the big picture of why, what do all these different modalities do. Some of them address some dimensions more so, and other modalities address other dimensions. Yeah, so okay, so from there, let's get into the first things that we encountered, and maybe we could start with you. um,
Yeah.
so
I wanted to say too. I just wanted to
yeah,
say,
go
like,
ahead.
yeah, I appreciate that, the importance of expanding into different modalities, um, and yeah, to each one touching on a different dimension of the self, a different aspect of the self, and to uh, fill my because it's like, yeah, I want to see every part of myself. I want to see the different dimensions, and these different modalities being different avenues to see certain layers, certain areas of my own self. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, and I feel like the reason I find it so useful to look at it that way too is because we might get something out of one modality that we aren't getting out of, um, or that we need another modality to address another aspect of us. You know, like for example, for me, I've gotten a lot out of meditation, but um, it didn't bring the healing that I needed so much, and I need to go, look at a different modality for that. Um, and so, yeah, that's why I find it useful to look at it this way too, is because we individually we might need different things, and we might not get everything that we need in one place. So we might have to shop around, so to
Mm.
speak,
Yeah.
shop around to get the things that we need to become, in a sense, who we're meant to be. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I don't want to get too, I want to move to our experiences pretty
Yeah.
shortly here, but I did just want to say
Right.
I'm connecting with like, oh yeah, again, that's why I think I'm seeing a lot of people move further and further away from like religious organizations nowadays. And I think it's again because they're like, this is the modality. Even if they don't say that, it just has that energy. Even if they're like the best church or whatever, super accepting, super open to everybody. Even if they teach like unity churches, for example, and they teach unity consciousness, it's like, but still the idea of this is my one avenue to look at myself, it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't seem on the spiritual path. It seems like
Mm.
we need to really pave our own ways and pull inspiration from several different modalities.
Yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're all out there. Like, I mean, we have more easy access to them than we've ever had in the past. So, that's one of the blessings of being alive right now, is that we can connect with so many of them with so easily, find out about them, and then go, and then go explore them through our own experience. So, speaking of our own experience,
Yeah.
so yeah, Jimmy, what was the first? I guess we could call it a modality, but I already know what you're going to talk about. I already know you're going to talk about a book, so so I don't know if I'll call it a modality, but
Yeah.
what was your first experience with that book like, and what did that open up in you?
Well, yeah, and I was reflecting on this the other day. There was a little bit before this, but I still think this was kind of a blast off point for me.
Mm.
But
How old were you, by the way?
when I found, okay, so the book we're talking about, by the way, is called The Law of One by Anne Humble Messenger Ra. Uh, I was, you know what? I'm feeling inspired. I feel I want to take it back a notch actually, because when you said how
Yeah.
old was I was like 14. I wasn't 14 when I read Ra. What was I
Uh,
14 with? I was 14 when I discovered tarot. And
yeah.
that's actually a modality. Tarot is like a really powerful modality. Tarot is a um, the yeah. I'm connecting the dots now. Like when I first started experiencing tarot, I was at a Renaissance fair. And are you familiar with what a Renaissance fair is?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Really
So
fun.
for the people who aren't, it's like this medieval environment. There's a lot of people like everybody who works there is dressed up. You know what I mean? And a lot of people who just come are dressed up in this like medieval garb, and there's shops and jousts and uh, sword fights and just like crazy stuff. It's really fun and exciting. And there's like tarot readers there, and I remember I got my tarot read for the first time, and it was just like nailing some weird stuff, you know. And I was like, all right, there's something to this. I'm gonna buy a tarot. I'm gonna buy a tarot deck. And so I got really excited. And as a kid, and still today, I'm actually moving into a different kind of energy with this. But as a kid and growing up, I would get really, really excited about something. When I found something that I wanted and I wanted to like delve into, I got so excited, like so passionate, so excited very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And so I found tarot, and I was just pumped. And I remember riding home and I had a few friends that came this year with me. I would go with my family every year. And I had a few friends come this year with me. And we were driving back home in the car, and I was just like opening it, going through the deck. And very quickly, I just started studying the deck, started reading like the meanings, and I just started doing readings. I would do readings for my like family. I would do readings for my friends. And it was just blowing me open very quickly. And I did tarot from about 14 to maybe it was in my life till about 18. I kind of stopped messing around with it after that. And it wasn't consistent through those times. But when it was most prevalent, I was like 14, 15. And in those 2 years, I felt like what I got from tarot as a modality, like the dimension I got to look at, was my own personal psychic gifts. Like I would do readings. There was a handful of times, like I remember the first time there was a family party, and my cousin had brought a friend, and you know what I mean? This is not somebody I had ever met. So this is the first time I'm doing, and I was doing a reading for her. I don't know how it came up, but I was doing a reading for her. This is the first time I've ever done a reading for anybody. And I remember with tarot, one of the most, because I didn't learn this from anybody. I didn't watch a single YouTube video. Nobody taught me how to, I read a little bit of the pamphlet, and then I'd do it, you know? And I remember the way I would describe it is like the cards would speak to me. Like I'd put down a card and it would say stuff to me. And then I'd specifically read like the description in the booklet, and certain parts of the description would light up for me. And as more cards came down, it was always this like puzzle piece that was coming together, which I loved the idea of puzzles. Like my mind really loved the idea of puzzles. And it was like with each card, I needed to read the description less and less because of the previous cards. The new card would just like speak to me so much. By the end of the 10th card, I would just have a really full picture.
Yeah.
I think it's probably how tarot works. I still have never actually like studied tarot. You know what I mean? It's
probably how it works.
Yeah. Probably. And so I'm sitting there at like my kitchen table. I'm like 15 years old, and I'm doing this reading for this girl, and it's like so connected, you know. And I haven't really had experiences like this, you know, where there's just like it's like connected and present and intense and healing, you know. And by like, you know, like the 7th or 8th card or something, she's just bawling. And I'm like, wow, what is going on here, you know? Because in my mind, I'm just speaking what the cards are telling me to speak, you know?
Yeah.
And this girl in front of me is just crying and crying and crying. And I'm like, wow, there's really something here, you know? And so that was really the first time in my life that I got two really important things in that experience. One, that I have psychic gifts, like that I have intuitive psychic gifts, and that I not only do I have them, but I can use them for service. I can give people powerful, emotional service-filled experiences by doing that. And the other thing I really got from reading tarot is that I can connect to anything, because I felt really connected to these cards. I felt connected to these cards in a way that I didn't feel connected to a lot of my relationships.
Sure.
And so I was building this relationship with the tarot deck that was unlike any other relationship I'd ever built in my life.
Yeah.
So there was really this, wow, building a relationship can be with anything. I can build a relationship with anything. And I feel like that really kickstarted something for me in my path of, I'm all about relationships, you know? And so I think, and the tarot is all about relationships, you know, too, like one card's relationship to another. As one card comes down, it relates to the previous 6 and it has a new meaning. So I felt like there was a lot about relationship and spiritual mathematics that kind of came into me at that point in my life at a very early age. I mean, 14, 15, it's pretty early to be practicing something like tarot. Especially
it's
nobody around in my life that had, you know what I mean, that did anything like that.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, just listening to you talk about your experience. I mean, I feel like there's so much there that was happening. Um, that was your first time. I mean, you were connecting with the deck, but you were also connecting with yourself. You were
Mm-hmm.
connecting with tarot, but you were also connecting with yourself in a different way than you ever had before. In accessing more of your intuition, and being confident in your intuition, what you had to offer, and then being of service to people as well. And I feel like that would affect your sense of self too. Like there was a new experience of knowing yourself in a different way as someone who can tune in, and then what you tune into is when you offer it to other people, it's of value to them.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
you're kind of having a whole new experience of yourself.
I really was. And I appreciate you saying that because something further clicked with me.
Yeah.
Like that, one of the biggest like new experiences with myself is I would call it like being in the zone. Like I would tell people like, I don't know, when I'm there, I'm just
Yeah.
in the zone, I'm just in the zone. Like that's how I would describe it.
Wow.
And I get now that like what was really happening is I was just present. Like it was
Mm.
something that was really pulling me into a deeper state of presence than I had ever tapped into. I was a very like ADHD kid, you know what I mean? Like when I was in school, I was like, oh, I'm just talking to people, you know what I mean? I don't care. I'm talking to myself in my own head, I don't care what they're talking about. And so tarot, I was so present with the cards and the person that I was reading, and that's it. I was with the cards and the
Yeah.
person, the cards and the person. I was out of my own mind, you know,
Yeah.
um, for the most part. And so it's like I think that was also like what I got to see in myself is what it felt like to be present, like what it felt to be presence, serving.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. And I feel like this is a little bit speculative, but I feel like thinking about spirituality and past lives, if you were to gravitate towards something like that so quickly in this life, it's probably something that you picked up before, and that your soul knew. Oh, this is something that I did once, and this is a way I was of service to other people, and you had an affinity with tarot already that you kind of picked up again, and it helped you awaken in this lifetime.
It's possible. It's possible. I don't,
Let's hope for sure.
this is maybe a whole other topic for another day, but because
Yeah.
there's a lot of talk about past lives in the spiritual community, and a lot of people who have like personal experiences with like being aware of past lives. And
Yeah.
I've really checked in with myself, and I don't think I've had past lives on Earth. I think besides meta incarnations, I think this is
Mm,
the only time frame, like, you know what I mean?
right.
Space
Right.
time kind of essence that I've been in is this chapter of Earth. So
Yeah.
maybe like
Yeah.
I think there's definitely a connection to like I pulled on something to be so inspired by that. I think more so it was like it could have even been meta incarnations, just picking it up along the way.
You know, I'm feeling inspired to be like a little bit vulnerable here, I guess, and confess. There's a part of me that's like, I really hope people don't think this is weird when we're talking about past lives and meta incarnations, But I just want to put that out there. Like, there's a part of me that's concerned, that other people are going to think this is really weird. Like, what are they talking about? But it's just,
I think only weird people are gonna watch this show, though. I think you
but
got to be a
if you
little
are
weird to
watching this
watch it.
show, you're beautifully weird,
Exactly, just like
so,
us.
and we're all uniquely weird in a beautiful way.
Yeah, I think being
So
weird's great, man. I think it's really great.
yeah, I'm owning it.
Yeah, but I hear you.
um
I hear you, Paul. That like, yeah, we hope that yeah, like nobody in this like experiencing this just goes like, oh, what are these guys talking about? What are these fools talking
yeah.
about? Meta incarnation,
Oh,
reincarnation.
exactly, because
Yeah.
here's another good thing too. I just realized why that part of me, partially why it's concerned about that, is because I also see that when you start talking about things that are like past lives, for example, it can become something our egos grab onto, and make into a spiritual identity, that we like kind of inflate ourselves. And I feel like that's a good trap to get caught in,
Yeah, I
you
love
know.
you saying that. I think like I've
Yeah.
definitely got caught in the trap of like, even like this, like the spiritual ego is like, I don't have past lives. You know what I mean? Like even like that,
Yes.
like even that stance, like, nah, I'm a
I
first
don't.
timer. You know what I mean? What bullshit. I mean, like the truth is like, I have no idea. You know what I mean? Like how the hell am I supposed to know? You know what I mean? Really?
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe that anybody's psyches are open enough on this planet right now to really have a deep understanding. Like you can have an inkling, you know, of, oh yeah, I believe I had a past life. Well, like really, how do you know that that's just not a thought form? Like, how do you know that's just not a really, really intelligent thought form that's showing you a vision of something? Honestly, that's what
How do you know?
that's a
Yeah.
lot of what I think when people talk about past
Okay.
lives is like, I go into this space of, yeah, what if all memory is implanted? I mean, we're only like, it's only the present moment. We're only here now, you know? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
everything that we claim to be the past, how do we know it was real? You know, like all that's real is
Sure.
what's right here, right now, you know?
Yeah. I mean that does
That's,
resonate with me. We're getting like a little philosophical when we
we
wanted to talk
are,
about our personal
I know.
experiences, but I do want to stay here for a sec though. Hey, I want to stay here for a sec. Um,
It's good.
because yeah, because I feel like I feel like it depends on the point of view that you look at it from.
Yeah. Sorry,
And
can I interrupt you, Paul?
yeah,
I want to come back to your world. I just want to like share because I feel like we're being in an authentic, vulnerable space. I feel like I feel the energy of like how triggering the statement I just made could be for some people. And so if I triggered you, good.
uh-huh.
Good.
Okay, okay. About the past lives part and
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
how do you even know?
How do you even know?
Because and that's where I was going to go was it
Yeah.
depends on your point of view because what
Hmm.
looks like, you know, you can only say it's past from another reference point of something being present, you know. And so if you're looking from a point of view of linear time, then it's like, oh yeah, that's the past, and then that's going to happen later. But if you weren't, you know, if you weren't looking from that linear point of view, you wouldn't say that's the past, and you wouldn't say that's the future. You know, it would all look different. So yeah, what we're calling past depends on our point of view as well.
Hmm. Something that's
Yeah.
coming to me too is like, I feel like something that could be more accurate because I know that there's a real experience that happens. Like a lot of people, like I haven't had this, but I know there's a lot of people I know who have had a very visceral experience of of recognizing a past life. And it's like, wow, that's like it's almost more accurate to like, oh, I experienced being in Germany in the 19th century, you know what I mean? Or I
Yeah.
experienced, you know, because even if like claiming you had a whole entire past life, it's like how do we know the truth of that? You know, potentially we could, but like what is true is that in this embodiment you had a visceral experience of living a different life. I'm sure, Paul, have you had any like visceral experiences like that where you just feel like a wave of remembrance that feels,
Recognition.
yeah.
Um, yeah, like I have some hesitation to talk about it, but like,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah, there is one that make feels true to me. Yeah.
Hmm. Cool. Well, yeah, anyways, I think that there is like a lot of truth to those experiences. I've always
Hmm.
felt unsure at what those experiences really are.
Right. Yeah, and I think honestly, I think that's a great place to be. I want to say a safe place to be is actually when we don't know, when we suspend judgment about. And I don't know if this is true, you know, and I don't know if that's true either. But I'm just
Hmm.
gonna stay here in my clean slate space of, you know, I don't know if either of those are true, but I haven't grabbed onto either of them yet, so I'm still free, you know. And it's like when we grab onto, oh, I had that past life, or you know, or I'm this person, then we start to get more solid, you know. So there's something to be said for, I don't know, I'm just
Yeah.
gonna stay out here where I'm free, you know.
Yeah. Maybe pulling inspiration from that, but being safe to not create identity from.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool. Well, that
You
was
said it
that.
better than I could.
Well, I just reflected what you said is all.
uh,
You said it. I so okay, maybe we should get back on. I don't know how much time we have. I didn't start timing until like a bit through, so
Yeah.
we're probably coming towards the end.
Or we could go a bit over this
Yeah,
time
we
maybe
can.
too, you know?
I think that's okay. I think that's good. So I think it'd be
Yeah,
good to just like jump back on track, close that a little past life
sure. Yeah,
chapter.
that's ending, people. That's the end
Yeah,
of that
that's
topic.
so it's over. It's over. Maybe not forever, but this video it is. Hey, and you know what? That's the final note on that. Put in the comments like what experiences have you had? Have you had visceral experiences where you've seen yourself as a past life? Do you feel, how do you feel like if you've used that in your paradigm? If past lives have been a modality for you, how has that supported your experience of life, and what dimensions of yourself have you been able to explore? Let us know that. I'm actually really curious. I'd love to have an even clearer understanding of how this impacts different people's worlds. So thank you.
Mm. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right, Paul, did you wanna share what kind of
Mhm.
one of your earliest catalysts into modality, like one of your first modalities you discovered was?
Yeah, you know, and I'm kind of gonna I was kind of inspired by you ended up not talking about what I thought you were going to talk about. So I'm going to go that route as well. Because not everybody knows this, but I actually grew up in the church. I was a preacher's kid. You know, my dad was a pastor for more than a decade, and that was in that was in a small church in a small town in Missouri. And before that, he was a youth minister at another church in Missouri. Um, but that had a big impact on me growing up because I was just surrounded by um, Christianity, Christian culture, Christian belief system, uh, that religion, you know. And I was going to church every Sunday, you know, and so that was a huge part of my development and my spiritual life. And I like to I like to tell the story of like I would often this sounds bad, but I would often not be paying attention to my dad's sermons, you know, because I was like 10 or 11 or 12 years old or however old I was, you know, and I would sit in the pews and like color something or be thinking about something. I would be in my own world basically. And I wasn't paying attention to what my dad was saying. Not because it wasn't great. It probably was, but I wasn't on that wavelength, you know? Um, but, but sometimes my dad would he would start to talk about how, from his point of view, Jesus wasn't here to help us all get to heaven, you know, which is kind of a radical thing to say in Christianity, at least as I've experienced it in America, you know, and especially in the Bible Belt part of America, because that's kind of the main thrust is like, if you accept Jesus as your savior, it means you're going to heaven. You know, that's the whole point. but my but my dad, when he was talking about it from his point of view, he kind of turned that on, and he was saying that was not his message. That was not his mission. His message and his mission was that it's about bringing heaven to earth. And even when I was a little kid, uh, I wasn't even paying attention that well, but my ears would perk up. Like something in me felt that.
Mm.
Something in me felt that, you know, I don't fully understand that, but there's something important about that that really resonates with me, that bring heaven earth, like almost like, yeah, that's what I want to do. That's what I'm here for. Um, so that was really my, um, that planted a seed, I think, you know, and it was part of, it was through Christianity and that way of looking at the world that I was connecting with God or spirit at that age, you know. So my experiences of it were being filtered through kind of a Christian lens. Um, but yeah, it kind of left this like personal connection with God or spirit in me that has served me. Yeah, and I kept that, you know, and um, I've kept my heart open since then too. Yeah. So yeah, that was the first modality uh,
That moved your heart.
yeah, it moved my heart. Yeah, and I think that, oh, here's a good one. Here's a good one. I think that um, Christianity, especially some of the Christian mystics, uh, and and Jesus, of course, what the dimension that they really emphasize and can really open up is the heart. You know, I mean, Jesus was a pretty loving guy, but it's if you look into it, it's a different energy or a different transmission than if you were like to look at Buddhism. You know what I'm saying? Because the Buddha was more about kind of the awakened mind. That's how I think about it. And seeing the truth of reality so that you can get free from suffering was kind of the Buddha's approach. But Jesus was so much in his heart, and he had this message of unconditional love, and those are two different dimensions. So yeah, so that heartful energy really I connected with that.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, received like the love that was there, received the love that was passed down.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I've even not so much recently, but not too far back, I'll still listen to Christian music sometimes, certain Christian music, and it really will um, open my heart. Like I can still connect with spirit in that way, and maybe I don't interpret the song in the same way as somebody else, but it really moves me, and I can still um, have that feeling of a personal connection with spirit through that medium.
I love that. I love that
Yeah.
you've got to build a really deep foundation in that medium. I was raised Catholic loosely. Like I went through the whole education system, but I never. It was just like my mom and Nana were Catholics, and they never really pushed it, too intensely. And I was always taught. I loved this. I was always taught after you finish the education system, you can go on to believe whatever you want to believe, which was kind of funny because part of it was like, until then you got to believe this, but not really. But also, but also I'm glad that like, I never felt like this, you have to follow this modality, but this is what I want you to go through as a child. And I felt like the understanding was like, so you understand it's important to have a modality, to have some form of spiritual modality. And I appreciate it.
Yeah.
And I really love
Yeah.
hearing your story because I get that like in your experiences that there wasn't like, yeah, maybe you were a kid that wasn't, paying attention, but but there was a lot of goodness there for you and heart connectedness.
Yeah.
And I don't get that there was many, it doesn't seem, at least my senses, there wasn't many experiences that pushed you too far away from that modality besides your own curiosity, I imagine.
Yeah, I just what I'm feeling like moved to say right now is I had some beautiful experiences growing up in the church. I remember going to church camp was like awesome. That
I
was
bet.
cool. It was really
Yeah.
cool, like connecting with those kids, and we like had our hearts open to each other. It was like we're actually being kind to each other for
It's
once.
like deep. Yeah.
It was awesome. But I wish that those kind of experiences would be more available without like you were talking about, you have to believe this without being forced to believe something, without having a constraining belief system put upon you. I think we should be invited to think for ourselves, and to circle back, like to start from that place of I don't know, because you can appreciate the mystery from there.
Yeah.
you know
Yeah, like coming from an I don't know place, but
yeah.
what feels good is having our hearts open to each other and being
Hmm.
loving and kind. So
Hmm.
let's have a heart open camp. You know what I mean? Just have kids come and be kind and love each other, do fun things. You know what I mean? With no agenda
Yeah.
to teach them anything.
Wow. Yeah.
Just holding space
That
for
would be
their.
amazing.
It would
Yeah.
be amazing. I loved you saying that. I always wanted to go to camp as a kid. I never went to any sort of like camp. But I do
Mm.
remember there was like a very small like Catholic like retreat thing, and I loved it. I had so much fun. So there was something special about like religious retreats and those energies, I think. um,
Hmm.
yeah, it could be
Hmm.
it was very heart opening. I remember
Hmm.
it felt like a
Mm.
seminar. talking about modalities. I felt like I went to, like, I remember there was one point that we had to like I lied on the floor. We were like writing letters to family members. And I remember
Yeah.
writing and just crying and crying.
Mm,
Like there was so much healing happening, you know?
yeah.
And yeah, just recalling that little piece of Catholic
I
experience.
love that. And I'll say it's almost a shame that when we're raising our kids in the education system in the way that we do now, we spend so much time training the mind, but so little time at training the heart, or
Hmm.
or
Or
even
just letting
even
it be.
addressing it,
Yeah.
letting it be. Yeah, because training it sounds a little bit like I'm trying to do something with my heart,
Hmm.
but I'm trying to mold my heart in a certain way, which is not. The heart's more gentle than that.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I feel like emotional literacy is something that's so important, that's missing, growing up. Like if kids were able to just identify and name their emotions so that they don't have to be taken over by them for their whole life, and think that they are their emotions, I mean, that would be huge.
Yeah.
Please, can
You,
we get
you,
some of that?
you give a kid, like a kid who thinks he's a sad kid, and you're like, if that kid could if that kid didn't think he was a sad kid, but instead knew that he
Yeah.
was experiencing sadness, like
Sadness.
what a
Yeah.
huge distinction that would be in our whole world if we
It,
just gave emotional
yes.
awareness to help children develop emotional awareness
Yes.
at a young age,
Yes. Yes.
and the language to communicate it.
Exactly, so that other people can understand their experience too, and they can
Hmm.
feel understood. And it's not that you it's not that the kid, just another uh, like a corollary of what you're saying, when we experience unworthiness too, and the feeling of not good enough, it doesn't mean you are not good enough. It means you're experiencing that emotion or that feeling. Man, if kids could get that
Hmm.
like early on, I mean, that could alter the course of your whole life potentially,
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
because then you wouldn't spend all that time trying to prove it wrong.
yeah, right. You wouldn't spend all that time because you just let it be. You just let it be the truth
Yeah,
of I'm experiencing this, and not try to prove to myself that I'm not that, because that's what I think I am. Yeah,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's really beautiful. I think it's really, and this is a whole nother topic, because I
It
think that
is.
not only kids need to be taught this, but I think like adults need to have this understanding, because very few adults
Yeah,
do. Because it's even
yeah.
beyond that. It's the distinction of like I'm experiencing sadness, or I'm experiencing thoughts of sadness. There's a difference there. There's a difference
Mm-hmm.
of identifying when my emotions are just feeling a certain experience, and when I'm experiencing my thoughts generating something,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
generating sadness, generating pain. I'm experiencing
Mm-hmm.
thoughts of anger and anguish. I'm
Mm-hmm.
experiencing sensations of tightness in the chest,
Yes.
right? Like, and then
Yeah.
we get distinctive about what are we experiencing in our physical body versus what are we experiencing in our emotional body. And these are things that need to be talked about. I don't think there's a lot of places really getting clear on like it, and in communicating our experience. There's clear ways to communicate what's happening in our thoughts, what's happening in our emotions, what's happening in our physical body, and how to communicate those without identifying with them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. 100%. 100%. I love that. Yeah. I mean, our whole society would look different if we had that kind of awareness training, um, widely disseminated. Um, we don't right now, but we're working on it.
We're working on it.
We'll get there.
We're writing up the plans. We're in the works. Hey, society's moving as fast as it can right now. It's moving very fast.
Hmm.
I feel very
Yeah.
grateful for our collective. I feel like they're putting in a
Mm.
lot of effort right now. I
Yeah.
just feel that.
I feel like we're all in this together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, especially with what's going on right now, it's important that um, that we remind each other that we're all in this together. You know, and
Mhm.
and just connect with our unity. Um, so yeah. Okay, a little
Yeah.
message about unity at the towards the end of the video, guys.
Yeah. All come together. Yeah. So as a close, I think that's great, Paul. I'm glad that we went back into our earlier ages and some
Yeah.
of the earlier modalities. Again, mine being like tarot and that whole world, and how much the Catholic Church actually or Christian Church connected with you and
Yeah.
opened your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. And I'm looking forward to see. Yeah, I do want to keep going with this and explore what are the next ones that resonated with us, and what did that open up as opposed to what we connected with through tarot and Christianity. So that'll be interesting to see as well.
It will be interesting. Maybe we can do like a book series and just talk about like books that opened us up
Oh yeah.
specifically, you know. And so we'll figure it
Yeah.
out, people. We'll figure it out. We'll brainstorm and come back to you with some more development on our personal experience with modalities and how they've impacted our lives.
Yeah, yeah. And if you feel inspired to share what modalities have supported you in the comments, then we'd be interested to hear about that. We appreciate your comments and appreciate you being here with us. So thanks for tuning in, and thanks for going along this journey with us.
Thank you. Namaste.
Namaste.